Good morning, Andrew. It looks by the sun shining off your head there that it's just as lovely up in Leicestershire as it is here in the Shire this morning.
Oh, I think that's the lights in my office doing that. It's the
Oh, is
sun's
it?
struggling to get up at the moment, but
Uh,
which I can relate to. So I'm feeling a bit knackered myself.
I've just had a strong coffee and a beta blocker. That would sort me out, wouldn't it?
the,
Uh,
the breakfast of champions.
now, Andrew, this is it worked in the 80s, number five. We're going back to you sort of went a bit rogue last week and went for Nick Morden. I'm glad to see that we're back in the 80s again there, 1984, when I was a mere 19-year-old youth. But I'm a little bit perturbed because it seems to me like you're casting dispersions on Formulator. We still don't know who Formulator was, but you sort of say that you don't think he could have done all the work, which would have taken weeks and weeks to come up with some of these theories, which you're either proving or debunking.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
lot of his articles start with a sort of a lot of waffle and just sort of like suggestions that firstly, you must ignore sellers and sellers handicaps and winners of maiden races running for the first time in a handicap, except nurseries. It's like, well, where's your data for that? Where's your evidence? So it's just he encourages people to write in. He then sometimes debunks their theories, and then he just comes up with ones of his own without any evidence. Now, I suppose it was a lot harder to do it in those days because if we're looking at like 1984 or 85, he wouldn't have had a copy of the Proform software on a computer where he could press a button and get the data in a matter of seconds. But it is a bit of a sort of do what I say and your ideas are no good, but with no evidence on either side.
I can picture him on this old dusty desk with piles of super form, loose leaf, well thumbed form books everywhere. But you're suggesting maybe they weren't even that well thumbed.
Yeah, possibly not. maybe,
Now I'm
maybe
with
maybe he's on a beach.
Formulator.
Maybe he's on a beach somewhere with a cocktail and a cigar.
Probably is now looking at this thinking, oh, I had the last laugh. So this you're going to explain anyway. Before we carry on, what you've got to say is be wonderful if people enjoy this content. It seems like people have. There's lots of comments. We really enjoy the comments if you're watching this on YouTube or on the website. You can do it. If you do like this, can you like and subscribe? And it keeps Andrew galvanized into looking at the next clipping that she's going to take the
Yeah,
mickey out of.
this next clipping is entitled "Beware Penalised Winners." A system study article by Formulator. I didn't, funny enough, I didn't dig out the exact date, but I'm just looking on the reverse side, and it said Stout's turn for the double. I'll just read the first bit. There's Henry Cecil landed the Epsom double last year with slip anchor and oh so sharp, and it looks the turn of his great rival Michael Stout, not Sir Michael Stout at this stage, to follow suit. The stable's Sharastani has won both his starts this season, blah blah blah. So it's yeah, you can. It's a golden era of British flat racing with slip anchor, oh so sharp, and Sharastani mentioned in the same paragraph there.
A
But
golden
yeah,
era for us because we were just falling in love with it, weren't we?
that's right. Well, a bit before my time, so I remember I've got a few years on you.
Oh yeah, forgot about
Yeah. So the most the interesting bit of this article was when he's talking about last time out winners, and the gist is that penalised winners don't make particularly good bets next time out, and and he says and he also mentions that but the a good yardstick for measuring whether penalised winners are going to follow up under that penalty is how many horses they beat last time out, whether they wanted a small field or a big field, which I thought was quite interesting and not something I'd considered previously. So the first thing I did, I looked at British flat turf racing since the beginning of 2021, so 4 and a bit seasons, just looking for horses who won last time out, whether that was in a handicap, a maiden or whatever, then trying to follow up under a penalty in a handicap. So these ones where you see on the race card EX5, like extra weight 5, where they were running under a £5 penalty before they've had the chance to be reassessed. And because like the likes of Sir Mark Prescott were famous for this, trying to run up a sequence before the handicapper could get a grip of them, being £20 well in and running under a £5 penalty. Now, in the study period, excuse me, in the study period, there were 1,586 qualifiers. So this is flat turf handicaps in Britain, and 351 winners, 22% strike rate, or just over that, but a big loss. almost 360 quid at SP, minus that's the one, minus 22.7% on turnover, and that was well below the expected number of winners. You would have expected another 28 or 29 winners on top of that. Now, even at Betfair SP, those horses still made a loss, 227 quid instead of 360. So you've done better by backing on the exchanges, but you're still out of pocket. Now, you could lay the lot of them, make 184 quid and a profit of almost 12% on turnover. So, funny enough, when I started researching this on Tuesday lunchtime this week, we're recording this on Thursday morning, I looked at the list of upcoming qualifiers. And there were two running on Tuesday. First one of those, Fisherman's Cottage, got chinned at 15-2, finished unplaced. And the next one, Zapata, was I think an 11-10 shot, and that got wiped out of Beverley, finishing out of the frame. Now, since then, there's been a 10-1 winner at York on the angle, but overall, it's not a particularly good system. Now, so they say a formulator mentioned that the size of the field for that win last time out was important. So I broke down by field size on the last time out run using the Proform database. And when they won in sort of fields of 3 or 4 runners, they had a good strike rate next time out, but that's sort of like, but then there's a sort of a dip, sort of horses who've won in sort of fields of sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 runners. And the areas, the ones that do better, horses who run in fields of won in sort of fields of 9 or more runners. So there is like something in that a horse that won in a big field might be a better bet under a penalty than a horse who won in a small field last time out. But either way, whatever happened, if you bet the lot of them blind, you would lose money. And again, he also goes on to say that have a look at how far they won by. Basically saying that if a horse won by 4 lengths, it's better than a horse winning by a short head. That doesn't take anything like class of the race into account, and that doesn't take field size into account, because they could win a 3-runner race by 4 lengths and a 20-runner handicap by a short head. One of them could be class 5, the other class 2, and he's not taken that into account. And again, he doesn't offer any stats, evidence, data to suggest whether that's true or not.
If I interject, for somebody that's obviously nowhere, not a form expert, at all, it's a very ambiguous, this, isn't it? I mean, surely it all depends on the opposition, and I mean, or is it just meant as a pointer, and then you delve in deeper? I mean, this is all about backing them blind, isn't it?
That's right. You're back to Clive Holt and fine form again, giving 5 points for a last time out win when you've no idea what the strength of the opposition was. Now, one other thing he goes on to say in the article is previous winners carrying a penalty win about 20% of their next races. Well, that's sort of backed up by the figures we've got here of sort of 22%, so it's a similar strike rate. And he says that you should look to avoid these, but not the ones running within 4 days of their win, suggesting that the quicker they come back to the track, the better, which is quite a sort of common sort of theme among betting shop punters and old school punters, who would say, the quicker they come back after a win, the better the strike rate. Now, that's true. The strike rate goes up to 27%. However, you would still lose money at SP and Betfair SP, backing last time out winners running in a handicap under a penalty on the turf in Britain, returned within 4 days. So, and again, laying these would have returned a good profit at Betfair SP. You'd actually make more laying the quick returners rather than the ones who've been offered sort of 5 days or longer.
So I suppose the other way of looking at this, then, Andrew, is that if you're looking at these, there's one you can oppose, and then you can form your selections around opposing that as when you're trying to sort a race out.
Yeah, I mean, there was a good example at Nottingham last Saturday when I was there. A course called It's Tim, who was bidding for a 5-timer. I think he'd won by something like 9 lengths on the all-weather at Wolverhampton last time. He was now running on turf, and he got ironed out. I mean, bigging myself up, I put up the winner in my column on gg.co.uk, Bulldog Spirit, who was 7s into 4s, because he basically had identical speed figures to the odds-on favourite. I think It's Tim went off at something like 2-1 on. But he got 2 horses who have got the identical chance on the clock. The winner, Bulldog Spirit, was running in a small field, which is ideal for him after 2 defeats in big fields. But because the winner has got all those ones next to his name and he's carrying the penalty, he was completely overbet. And it was Ladies' Day at Nottingham, and but there was plenty of sort of grand plus bets flying around for the losing favourite, who I think was only third in the field of 7, so a bit of a place spot buster as well. So you're going to run into some like some Mark Prescott ones where you'll lay something at like 2 on and it'll win by half the track at Catterick and go on to win its next 2. But those ones are balanced out by the number of losers you're going to be laying as well.
And as with every week, you're using Proform. Now, would you be able to sift even deeper and find out if there is a trainer that bucks this negative trend?
Yeah, funnily enough, I'm just going to do that now. So again, I've got a sort of penalised winners system saved. I can just do it by presentation by trainer, and then we can just sort of sift through that and see which ones do better. And yeah, I think if you're if you were betting who shows a profit, you'd probably have Sir Mark Prescott as favourite. Oh, actually, it's actually made a loss in in recent years.
Even that's been debunked then.
Yeah, which is quite surprising. Look at the trainers who have got a sort of good winners above expected. Let's have a look. Who comes out well? So sort of odd ones. Charlie McBride, 5 winners from 10. Phil McEntee, 7 from 20. Stuart Williams, Grant Chewer, David Lochnan. So there's some of the smaller yards that you perhaps wouldn't associate. And so yeah, some trainers got terror. Richard Hannon's got a poor record, 4 from 47. Rod Millman, 1 from 24. Andrew Balding, 3 from 30. Ed Walker, 0 from 14. Yeah, so some big yards there. But again, with those big yards, they're probably running in the better races as well. They probably want a sort of class 2, 3, or 3 handicap, perhaps stepping up in class under a penalty and getting ironed out as a result.
Why do you think this is, Andrew?
I'm hoping it's just the betting market overreacting to a last time out win, and a quick return to action. And it's just something that it's one of these things that, like people say, always back the top weight in a nursery. That's been doing the round since I got into horse racing, getting on for 40 years ago, and you still hear it mentioned today. Every time a top weight in a nursery wins, you'll get a pundit on TV saying always back the top weight in the nursery, but then no one wants to back it up with any stats or data. And again, these get overbet. And again, when races are priced up, I swear half of it's sort of like done by computer programs nowadays, where so I think I mentioned this before. You look at a class 5 handicap at Wolverhampton on a Monday that's priced up 24 hours earlier by someone like Bet365. There'll be 2 last time out winners. Will be 7-2 joint favourites. A couple of last time out seconds that will be sort of 9-2 and 5-1. It just seems that the very early market in particular just looks at that last time out form figure and prices up the race accordingly.
Yeah, because looking at it quickly, you'd think there's a lot of good reasons that this would sort of be a successful system. I mean, the horse is in form; it's coming out, it's banging.
Yeah,
before it's been reassessed. It's logical, isn't it? You can see why formulated, but then he's looked into it and said that they're not good ones to back. So,
but the other thing as well is like if that first win's come over a mile and a half on a left-handed track on good to firm ground, how many more races within the period before the horse is reassessed that you can run under a penalty are you going to have the chance to run in under the same conditions? It might be you've got to, maybe you've the winds come on the all weather and you've got to switch to turf. Maybe it's come, left-handed over a mile and a half. Now you've got to go right-handed over a mile 6. Maybe you're switching from good to firm to good soft ground. It's a case of it's kind of, and a lot of them I think are sort of, he's won that well. We must run under a penalty quickly before he's reassessed. But then, maybe the race will come too soon, or maybe it'll just be the wrong conditions, or maybe you'll just be forced to run in a better race because you've got sort of like a maximum about 10 days to run before being reassessed, and you just haven't got the you can't find a race with the ideal conditions again.
Yeah, and of course, these ideal conditions, a lot of them are going to be obvious in hindsight, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, you'll back one in a big field that you realise needs a small field, or it's like say left-handed, you realise it's got to go right-handed, and vice versa.
Okay, so brilliant. Thanks, mate. So basically, then you've got to oppose these ones with penalties, look for something alternatively to back, or even lay them.
Yeah, and I think the angle is just looking at. I mean that Zapato one at Beverley on Tuesday. I put up one each way against that. It was 12s into sixes early and just scraped third after being left with a lot to do off a steady pace. But those are the kind of races you should be targeting, I think, because if you're talking about these horses are winning one time every five, one time every 4.5. Then if they're going off odds on in handicaps, you've got 8, 9, or 10 runners. There's going to be some each way value against them.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't already know Andrew's stuff, gg.co.uk, Andrew's column every day. And he doesn't just put the bets up, he puts all his workings in there and reasonings behind it. So you can learn a lot from Andrew's column every day. And if you want Andrew's detailed workings for this, there it all is. It'll be on my website, which is simonnott.co.uk. And yeah, so and like and subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube.
You're off to the dogs again this weekend?
I'm off to Towcester again, tomorrow and Saturday, where they bet like men. I was at Newton Abbot yesterday. There was quite a few people there. It was a lovely day. And to quote my old boss Jack Nin, you could fire shots and not hit a punter down the line of bookies at times. But it's not like that at Towcester. They weighed in with proper lumps when they fancy one. So it's good fun to be in the betting ring. So I'll be writing a betting ring report for Star Sports about that if anybody's interested. And then that's next week I'm at Windsor. So
lovely
on Monday. Yeah, looking forward to that too. And if you're watching this in 2027, still probably works this what Andrew's come up with here in this. So oppose those penalty carriers.
And on the subject of Windsor, beware that inside rail. I think they overwatered it this week, and everything was winning out wide. So you will make money laying stalls 1, 2, and 3 in Windsor Sprint handicaps over the last few seasons. Every now and again, you'll have a rail bias and you'll run into a few winners. But certainly on Monday this week, it was a good angle.
But if you're laying them, bet responsibly.
Exactly. Do everything responsibly.
Everything.
That's my advice.
Oh. Brilliant. Okay, Andrew, thank you very much, mate. And
cheers.
So catch you later, buddy. Cheers. It worked in the 80s. Hello, everyone. Just a quick one. If you have enjoyed these videos and are enjoying these videos, can you please like and subscribe to my channel? Thanks very much.